abusia incha one san so we mo akwa ba emre channel so abusia for had so ye be media gh abusia after say ye temale high court e de omo ruling a efa eye bandai eye seat no ho a che say eye Matthew Yindam ono enene ono ena ye MP ewo eye bandai eye constituency abusia temale high court e de ruling e de aba omo seminar ne say ekwan bia so say ye call for eye election rerun na abusia sansem we eba abonten no eye ade a eye the minority leader Alexander Afenyomakin abusia or sorry na abusia cheso odi ni emotions achi ekeka nsem bi e de kire the judicial system abusia for ene eyade onabu muntaka ababonten no ba bebreki silence e wo ho cheni nsem a ensem a Alexander Afenyomakin ekeka e de kire the judiciary ene the Ghana Bar Association no abusia ano eden nti se Alexander Afenyomakin ekoye ordinary lawyer ankasa nsem we ya okaye no anka yese okoje ewo ho yes so oye ordinary lawyer ankobeko jail na abusuan ocheni nsemu a Alexander omo next meeting say Alexander epachew yes because nsemu a ode tuudwa na say nsemu a waka kire the judiciary no ochira ano eden papa nti omo next meeting no say Alexander eba na chese oba ebepachew na chese nsemu na no ode yenkone kokoti ensem Alexander Afenyomakin abusuan oka ekire the judicial system a chese enya nsem a chese edi agro ene nsem onabu muntaka chese ode atudwa efa Alexander Afenyomakin nsem a oka ya ochene nsem a the next meeting in Parliament no Honorable Alexander Afenyomakin the minority leader omra no omepachew abusuan yenkoniti ensem mu ankasa enchire mu emra sese ha eda so aye be media jecha abusuan be se wase ene dedi konitwa channel so a Bomodi and subscribe like na bo ashima for person be atie no enya bi entie yadamase.
Typically if any ordinary lawyer makes these statements, they will be on the way to actually go to jail for contempt. But he is minority leader, so he has a certain leverage and he's doing a certain public commentary which may perhaps the democracy will permit.
I'm worried because, Robert, we're in November. Remember last year this time, what he was saying about the court. And since then, I don't know whether this High Court judge who was appointed this year. I mean, you see, my worry is that, and all of us sometimes get guilty of it when the emotions come, but you have to be careful the way you do the criticism. Because this one, like I said, that's why I was calling it insinuations. It goes beyond just criticizing the decision. One, you are painting the whole judiciary with the same brush. This is a lawyer, this is a minority leader.
You guys are guilty of the same.
You are saying that paymasters. You are saying that they knew the possible outcome. Samson, you are a lawyer. And you and I have been in court a number of times, right? And there have been instances when we are going, we expect, and you tell me, I mean, you sometimes tell me, this one is 50-50. It could go this way, it could go that way. You tell me it's 50-50, it will go this way. And sometimes I tell them, okay, if it goes this way, what should we do? If it's that way, what should we do?
That's right.
And I prepare for any of the 50-50, isn't it?
That's right.
So how do you then say that based on that 50-50 that you, my lawyer, told me, and I prepare in a certain response, it means that the judge is paid? I mean, when you do this, we then, by our action and inaction and comments, weaken the very judiciary that we expect to be strong. Because now, let's assume, if we go to the appeals court and they tender the decision of the High Court judge, should the majority leader come out and say that the appeal court judges are also corrupt and they've been paid by you and all that? I mean, so I'm worried about the posture of the minority leader, and I think that yes, it's not immune completely, but I want to believe the judiciary may be hesitant because of the position that he's occupying and the possible rancor and political division that it may create. But I must say that it's very disappointing to hear the minority leader say this, and I expect them to be more responsible as a minority leader in this comment. I mean, we were in the leadership, and something you bear me, there have been instances emotions go so high.
Oh, but still.
But we need to be
Leadership.
measured. And I maybe I should assist him by telling him that he must learn and get his facts right. You remember when, after the former majority leader, Honorable Chairman Sabons, after we elected Speaker, said that, oh, we were bribing, we were trying to influence some of their members. Then, out of emotion, I said that, you who were trying to influence the other. In the case, you even were trying to get some Supreme Court judges to influence some members. You remember the heat I had to go through? I had to apologize. Because, I had to apologize. I didn't mention any specific name. I just said that, oh, we know that you have even used a Supreme Court judge to do this. And something you knew, as I know, that look, we had the phone number because it was unknown. We had the conversation 8 minutes, but the court will not give us the order for MTN to give us the audio. So I said that, look, you, my colleague, who told me this information, you told me you have recorded it, not knowing that it was swept, it was clean on her phone. So we didn't have it. And everybody said that, oh, look, but this one, Sam George is the communication minister. So he was the one who did all the tracking, all the numbers and everything with Lawyer Tatuchi Kata and others. They were all insisting that, no, you have to stand your ground. I said, no. Ethics should be very, very important. Once we cannot get the actual evidence, it will be unfair for the other Supreme Court judges. Because if I had mentioned a specific judge, it would be between myself and that judge. Now I've said the whole Supreme Court judges. And now the very evidence we're relying on is destroyed. And we can't have it from the court because the court will not grant us to go to MTN to get it. I think that the most decent thing to do is to apologize. And I did apologize. And I have no regret apologizing because if it was down to me, I expect an apology. I want the minority leaders to know that being in leadership position comes with a lot of responsibility. And managing that with your emotion and what you say and what you don't say is very, very important. And also, as is the lead person, I was a whip.
You, the majority, have already pushed him to the wall, especially with this ECOWAS Parliament matter. Yes. And now they actually held a press conference just yesterday, Patricia Appiah-Jay, the deputy, asking the speaker to apologize and so on, and then the petition citing him to the Privileges Committee to be withdrawn unconditionally, among others. But I mean, why do you cite your minority leader to appear for discipline at the Privileges Committee?
When we were taking that decision in the chamber, try and get the video, I spoke and I gave the history. I'm with all humility, Samson, and with the greater respect to our listeners, I am nobody. As my brother here knows, by the grace of God, I've been the longest serving whip this country has ever seen. I've served as majority whip and minority whip. And he knows. There's something we call in the parliament, we call the chamber dynamics. I'm gifted with it. He knows. I'm very good. My God has given me that gift. I'm able. That day I predicted this. And I sent a caution to him that don't go to ECOWAS Parliament and embarrass us. Because when you do, it will trigger parliamentary privileges. I don't know, he didn't listen. Because what we do in the House and took a decision, you go and contrary against that decision. So much as individual, in an external parliament, like ECOWAS Parliament,
her consent was never sought. She just heard the announcement for her to take over his place. She can't do that.
It is something that is in the House, and he knows. I came to meet it. Honorable Chairman Sabonso, they were there from the beginning because he was there from 1996. When they created the parliament, they did decide that it's a mixture of leadership and middle and back benches. So, for example, in ECOWAS, it has always been the chief whip on both sides. Then you have other members going. Then in Pan-African Parliament, you have the deputy speaker, the deputy leaders, and other members going. By the time it got to my turn as whip, I was already a backbencher member of the Pan-African Parliament. Then I persuaded the House that, can you kindly allow me, I've built some experience here, instead of switching to ECOWAS Parliament, to remain in Pan-African Parliament. And the House graciously agreed. That's how come the regime then changed. Then the whips now are in Pan-African Parliament and deputy leaders. So it is for the position. So if, for example, we send a deputy majority whip, and then you lose that position, you are supposed to be out. In my case, remember when we were removing leadership? In fact, there were attempts to replace me. Then, but I was chairing the Finance Committee of Pan-African Parliament. Then the Deputy Speaker, Osewusu, Honorable Osewusu, together with the senior member, Honorable Collins, went to the Speaker to say, look, Honorable Muntaka, yes, by virtue of being removed from the leadership, automatically loses his position. But we are pleading that because he chairs the Finance Committee of Pan-African Parliament, taking him out will mean Ghana will lose that position. But we allow only 5 months.
Why couldn't the same thing be done for Afenyo?
No, but the reality is that the reality is that there are other privileges. That they even remember on the floor. I even checked and said, look, I will list all the privileges that the leaders have. Why they don't go to the Pan-African Parliament and ECOWAS, and they are kept to IPU and CPA. IPU is International Parliamentary Union, and then CPA is Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. The privileges the leaders have in the House, believe me, it is something that you, if you are a backbencher and you hear it, you are not careful. Every day you be fighting with your leader.
But in any case, the deputy says, I don't want my leader to keep it.
No, you see the optics of it. And I'm sorry to say that you can't expose private conversations. Look, it is not for her to say that I don't want. Because it's a position that is meant for her. Yes, I know there have been instances where people say that, like Bedra. No, sorry, Aveji. Mm-hmm. Aveji was supposed to go. Then he says that, look, I'm leaving it for Bedra, Honorable Bedra to go. I will keep the chairing of the public accounts and allow Honorable Bedra for my caucus to go replace me. But even that, the House has to take a decision. And the House took a decision, said, okay, we agree with you. In his case, the House disagreed with him. Because that decision is not for individual. I can say that, oh, I want Honorable Susan to replace me. But the House must take that decision. In his case, the House disagreed with him and said, no, we are not going to allow a leader to go. Because if a leader goes, it is going to distort the House.
Okay.
And so like Media, make sure you drop like now subscribe to POG Media. I see a lot about Ghana, authentic political stories and the headlines and the updates happen on Sabbath me. I can announce who the ego and the air banning na the hinta na POG Media so on Sabbath me. I can all stories are updates about any current ones in ha and I was Sabbath me. I can hano pin grato for my Ghana political space in my bet in half first now so who the echo and the banity. May as well drop subscription now so updated with my Ghana political stories maybe now bet was so and so at a now wait me so about the comment section on also wait me heading come on.
We just had a discussion about prudence.
Yes.
Where we say better not go to court, sit around and solve this. Why do you want to punish and discipline a leader?
It is because when that happened, all the signal was sent to him, including some of us who were in leadership. And I told him that, look, I'm saying it with all the sincerity of my heart because I've been in the leadership longest. And the speaker, fortunately, has also been in the House much longer than me. And he has been in the House because he served as minority leader and or deputy speaker longer. So please don't. And we thought that he was going to take clue. But he still insisted and went to Abuja and, for lack of a better word, misbehaved and embarrassed the country. And for that, he has to be punished. If you don't do that, what precedent will you be setting tomorrow? When the House takes a decision and sends you signal that we know you can go and do this, if you do, there will be these consequences. And then you still go ahead and did it and created all the embarrassment in Abuja. And if you get away with it, because you are a minority leader, tomorrow if another member does the same, what will we do?
So I come to Japan Mesa and the Interior Minister has to leave us. Thank you very much. Honorable Nus of Seni is still on the line with us as well. On this Matuyindam situation, Japan Mesa, look, so they go to the court and they say 41, is it, did I say constituencies? 41 polling stations are affected. And then eventually the judgment affects the whole process. Why is it difficult for the minority to accept that this can be a judgment that is not tainted by some paymasters or a judgment that, a judge has to do through, call it a shameless process? Because sometimes you go to court and the things you ask for, you may not get those things. You may get different results.
Samson, it's interesting you introduce this angle that sometimes you go to court and you may not get what you ask for, you may get different things. I'm not so sure that you go to court and get more than what you ask for. I'm not so sure. And I'll be surprised if you yourself personally were not scandalized when you heard the decision that has been delivered by the court. It will be fair for us to await the full judgment to enable us render a proper critique of the decision. But for the petitioner to ask for the annulment of 41 polling stations, where the issues that he complained of actually took place, and the court to say that he has annulled the entire election and has ordered a rerun of all the 152 polling stations. It's amazing. Amazing. Of course, you remember the elections petition, Nana Akufo-Addo versus the Electoral Commission, John Mahama, the kind of statements that the Supreme Court made, that you cannot invalidate the vote of voters merely on account of some action not having been taken by the electoral officers. So to invalidate the entirety of the votes in Bandai because someone complained of 41 police stations, which if the court was minded to, and that if it had indeed been established that there were some irregularities in those police stations, it would be acceptable, if you like, if the court had said that it was invalidating the 41 police stations for the electoral commissioner to conduct a rerun in those police stations, rather than invalidating the entirety of the result. It's surprising to me that our friends...
Do you know, we don't have any of the lawyers on the platform now, but do you know what must have led to invalidation of the entire rather than the 41? Because it is possible that in assessing the 41, the judge could have come to a decision that the 41, they taint the rest.
Yep. How so? When evidence would have been led on the 41 police stations that the petitioner himself complained of. How so? The rest of the police stations were not an issue. Okay?
Yeah,
and so to suggest that, well, you complain of 41 police stations, and ordinarily, if I was making any determination on the fact before me and the evidence before me, I'm to restrict myself to the facts and evidence before me and make a determination. But I'm going beyond that and invalidate the entire polling result of the constituency. It's far-fetched. But it will be good, like I said, for us to see the full judgment. Because
what if the 41 polling stations results put together
doesn't matter.
Change the entire...
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter at all. That's why if the outcome of the 41 would impact the generality of the result, you order a rerun.
Okay.
Limited to the areas where the infractions took place, not the entire constituency. How does that even come about? And so if you get decisions like this, why is it surprising when responses in the nature that the minority leader delivered come? It's to anybody.
You endorse the response?
Certainly. Because you see, Samson, we've heard people speak in this country. We've heard the kinds of things that people have said. We've heard the statements relative to a certain reset of the judiciary started. And so if you have a judge who is determining a particular matter based on the facts and evidence before him, goes beyond and invalidates the entire result of the constituency, you have cause to question what motive that the judge has other than law to make those statements. So certainly, I endorse the statement a majority leader made. Okay, and the danger.
The judge did the
danger that decisions like this potentially has on our democracy. So what the judge effectively is saying that in future elections, all you have to do is to create chaos in 2, 3, 4, 10 police stations and that would be ground for invalidating the result of the entire constituency.
That's a high court. That decision is not binding on all courts.
I don't have a problem, but that's.
I get the analogy.
Of course, election petitions are matters that are subject to high court jurisdiction. So is that what the court is saying? It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and we should not allow the judiciary to be weakened to the point where you will get comments like this coming from affected persons. If you say you are resetting the judiciary, people who called the Supreme Court unanimous FC because they themselves had submitted a petition that was completely baseless and empty. And because of that, the Supreme Court did not agree with them. They called them all sorts of names. If they are offended, say it again.
Do you is that it for that?
What is it for that?
Because they talked that.
I'm saying that the people who have used much more derogatory words against the court are today offended by people who are unhappy with a certain decision of the court and are drawing attention of the court.
Do you recall the comments that got Dominic Ayene, Dr. Basit, Abdul Basit Bamba, and so on, for punishment, and even the Supreme Court had to, as it were, tamper justice with.
Yes, I do.
They were not this,
They were not like this.
Well, but of course, that was during the pendency of the matter before the court. The court has delivered this decision, okay, and the minority is entitled to criticize it. And if the outcome is suggestive of something other than law, how else do you want them to conclude?
That's not an objective view.
What would be an objective view then?
I'll bring what's the name? I'll bring Inus of Seni on shortly. But as I mentioned earlier, and then we'll come to Susan, I want her to hear from the lawyers first. And I have a couple of questions for Inus of Seni as a lawyer. The conduct that his side, the NDC side, put up in Parliament. So in 2020, Daniel, who has gone to court now, won with 52.11% of the votes, and then Matthew Yindam lost. He had 47.55%, and then in 2024, Matthew flipped the chart. He had 53.38%.